Hello, everyone, and welcome. In this session, we'll explore strategic workforce planning and human capital analytics, and more importantly, how organizations can move from fragmented data into a truly integrated talent strategy. This is not just about HR anymore, it's about using data, strategy, and foresight to build a future ready workforce. By the end of this chapter, you should be able to do five key things. First, clearly define strategic workforce planning, SWP, and human capital analytics, or HCA, and understand how they complement each other. Second, build a strong business case for why integrating both is critical for competitiveness. Third, master the SWP process from supply and demand all the way to action planning. Fourth, distinguish between different levels of analytics, from descriptive to prescriptive. And finally, understand how to govern people data responsibly, including ethics and data management. Let's start with a simple question. Why is traditional HR no longer enough? Today's organizations are facing rapid technological change, talent shortages, and shifting work models like hybrid and remote work. Traditional HR focuses on transactions and past data, but that's no longer sufficient. This is where two powerful concepts come in. Strategic workforce planning helps us look forward, asking what skills we need, how many people, and where. Human capital analytics, on the other hand, gives us the evidence, helping us understand what's happening now, why it's happening, and what will happen next. The key idea here is simple. Planning without analytics lacks rigor. Analytics without planning lacks direction. We need both. So, what exactly is strategic workforce planning? It's a structured process to ensure that an organization has the right people with the right skills in the right roles at the right time and at the right cost. There are four core components. First, supply. What talent do we have today? Second, demand. What talent will we need in the future? Third, gap. What's missing or misaligned? And finally, action. How do we close those gaps? This is not short-term planning. It usually looks ahead 3 to 5 years and is closely aligned with business strategy. Now let's look at the full SWP framework. It starts with understanding strategic drivers. What is the organization trying to achieve? Then we analyze supply, our current workforce. Next, we forecast demand, future workforce needs. After that, we conduct gap analysis, identifying shortages or surpluses. And finally, we move into action planning, deciding what interventions to take. And importantly, this is not a one-time process. It's continuous. Organizations revisit and adjust their workforce plans regularly as conditions change. Now let's shift to human capital analytics. HCA is about using data, statistics, and analytical tools to improve workforce decisions. It has evolved through four stages. First, operational reporting, basic metrics like headcount and turnover. Second, descriptive and diagnostic analytics, understanding what happened and why. Third, predictive analytics, forecasting future outcomes like attrition risk. And finally, prescriptive analytics, recommending actions based on data. The goal is to move from simply reporting data to actually driving decisions. This slide shows the analytics value chain. It starts with descriptive analytics. What happened, then diagnostic, why it happened. Next is predictive, what will happen. And finally, prescriptive, what should we do? In workforce planning, each level adds more value. For example, descriptive data helps us understand current workforce supply, while predictive analytics allows us to anticipate future talent risks. The real value comes when organizations move toward prescriptive insights, where data directly informs decisions. Now, let's bring everything together. Strategic workforce planning is forward-looking. It focuses on what we need and how many people we need. Human capital analytics is evidence-based. It explains why things are happening and what might happen next. Think of SWP as the strategy and HCA as the intelligence behind that strategy. For example, if a company plans to expand into a new market, SWP identifies the talent needed, while HCA analyzes past data to determine the best hiring mix and potential risks. Together, they create a powerful data driven workforce strategy. Let's go deeper into how SWP actually works. First, we look at strategic drivers and build scenarios like growth, stability, or recession. Second, supply analysis, understanding current workforce data, including skills and attrition risks. Third, demand analysis, forecasting future workforce needs using models. Fourth, gap analysis, identifying mismatches between supply and demand. And finally, action planning, what we call the 5 Bs: build, buy, borrow, bot, and bridge. Each step becomes more powerful when supported by analytics. This slide shows how analytics supports each stage of workforce planning. Descriptive analytics provides baseline metrics. Diagnostic analytics helps uncover root causes like why employees are leaving. Predictive analytics allows us to forecast risks such as who might resign, and prescriptive analytics helps us decide what actions to take, like which retention strategy works best. So analytics is not separate. It is embedded in every step of SWP. To make all this work, we need strong data and technology. Key data sources include HR systems, recruitment platforms, learning systems, performance data, and even external labor market data. Technology tools like Power BI, Tableau, and machine learning platforms help analyze this data. But equally important is governance. We must ensure data privacy, security, and ethical use, especially when dealing with employee information. To make all this work, we need strong data and technology. Key data sources include HR systems, recruitment platforms, learning systems, performance data, and even external labor market data. Technology tools like Power BI, Tableau, and machine learning platforms help analyze this data. But equally important is governance. We must ensure data privacy, security, and ethical use, especially when dealing with employee information. As organizations use more data, ethical risks also increase. For example, over-monitoring employees can lead to privacy concerns. Bias in data can lead to unfair decisions, and complex models can become difficult to explain. That's why we must focus on transparency, fairness, explainability, and human oversight. At the end of the day, analytics should support decisions, not replace human judgment. Now, having tools and data is not enough. Integration into organizational strategy is key. This requires collaboration between HR, finance, IT, and business units. Strong governance structures and leadership support are critical, and organizations must build a culture that values data driven decision making. Without this alignment, SWP and HCA will remain isolated and ineffective. There are also challenges: poor data quality, lack of skilled talent, and resistance from managers can slow progress. Sometimes initiatives fail because they are not linked to business outcomes, but there are clear success factors: executive support, clear business questions, starting small, and strong storytelling. Because insights are only valuable if decision makers understand and act on them. Let's look at a real world example. A global tech company needed to shift from traditional software to cloud based solutions. They identified key roles needed, analyzed workforce gaps, and implemented strategies like upskilling and hiring. Human capital analytics supported every step, predicting attrition, evaluating training success, and optimizing hiring. The result? They achieved their target earlier than planned and reduced turnover in critical roles. This shows the real impact of integrating SWP and analytics. To summarize, strategic workforce planning is about shaping the future workforce. Human capital analytics powers that plan with data and insights. The real value comes from integrating both. Ethics is essential. Without trust, analytics fails. And finally, culture matters. Organizations must embrace data driven decision making.